Are you ready?
What's up, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, and wrestling fans of all shapes and sizes? Welcome back to the swantonpod. I am Matt Knight, the dad bod, also known as Daddy Dangley, also known as that guy with the mustache, here in the studio with, what's your name again?
They call me Roadhouse, the roadie who's a Brody.
Yeah, don't tell Road Dogg. He might think it's a shoot.
Well, if he comes on the podcast, he can shoot whatever he wants.
There you go. As my buddy Hollywood here says, that's right, brother.
Hell yeah, brother.
That's Cletus McFarland.
Well,
Different story.
kind of close.
No, not at
all
all.
right.
All right, so last weekend we got the pleasure to be invited out to a NAWA wrestling show in Lenoir, North Carolina. We had an awesome time. The show was great. The promoter treated us very well, as did all of the talent, the wrestlers there. Got a lot of cool pictures. Go check out our Facebook, facebook.com/swantonpod, link in bio, as well as all of our other stuff. What did you think about it, Reddy?
First and foremost, great show. I mean, no doubt about it. It was. I had so much fun watching all the talent that we knew, but not also that we knew, but all the talent that it was the first time we got to see them.
Yeah, we knew AJ Frost and Ryan Mantis.
We did.
From some PWF shows that we attended.
And we've seen Big
last
Nasty
year
before as well.
We've seen Big Nasty. We didn't know who he is, and just for the sake of kayfabe, I'm going to keep that alive, and I'm not going to say who Big Nasty is.
Absolutely. But no, I mean, it was a great show, top to bottom. I can't really think of a complaint that I had, to be completely honest. And as you said, it was the first major, local promotion that invited us out, and it was very, very cool the way that they treated us, the way that we just had access to everybody, but also we had wrestlers and the promoter and everybody come up to us and show us nothing but the utmost respect, and it was just a very cool experience.
Yeah, it was really neat, and shout out to AJ Frost for putting that bug in our ear and saying, "Hey guys, come on out and watch this show," because it was it was an awesome time, and we appreciate all of the talent that wound up coming up to us during and after the show and talking to us, let us know kind of what your story is. We got a few guests lined up out of that, and I don't care, big name, small name, and I know Roadhouse is going to agree with me on this. We just love talking the business and talking to the talent and hearing the stories. So we're more than grateful for the guys that have agreed to come on the podcast. And I want to speak to that note too. We haven't seen a lot of ladies wrestling at the independent shows we go to, which is not surprising because it's a very small percentage of even the larger promotions. So if anybody knows or puts the bug in the ear of any of the ladies, independent or otherwise, that want to come on and tell their story and who they are, shoot us an email, swantonpod@gmail.com. Link will also be in the bio for that, or in the episode description for that. So we don't discriminate, and it seems like a lot of our talent, a lot of our names that we're having on and have booked are some of the men, so we would love to speak with the ladies of professional wrestling also.
Well, and I'd also like to expand on that. Not just, men and women wrestlers. I want to expand it even to
anybody in the business, really.
Referees, promoters, managers. We love this business. We do this because we love this business and we love talking about it. And since we've done this podcast, we've really gained a lot of respect and love for, I won't say the word indie, I'm going to say independent. Independent shows, because it's just been so great to, like you said before, we don't care big, small, this, that, or the other. But what I've noticed is it's been more fun to get to interact, whether it be in person or on our podcast, with some of these independent wrestlers more so. Don't get me wrong. The big names it's cool. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting, but the stories and just everything about some of these independent wrestlers that we get to learn, it's opened my eyes completely and been absolutely the coolest experience ever. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm excited about a guest we have coming up very soon. I don't know when the episode will be published, but we're recording very soon with a guy named Tony Binge.
Absolutely.
He's been in the business for 30 years. Went to, I think, Jimmy Valiant's wrestling school. He's been up and down the roads with a lot of the guys that outside of independent circles, and I know he's going to have some great stories to tell. I'm prepared to stay up past midnight for for Tony to see what he has to say. So, just hearing stories from like the inner circle is what we're really about, not just clarifying stuff that everybody knows, like the plane ride from hell, or the murder that happened down in Puerto Rico. And
well, and I'll even say, we've had one of my favorite people, much less wrestlers, but one of my favorite people in this world, Dalton Dallas. And he had some really cool stories. He knows a lot of people in the business, and we got to talk about a lot of that on the episode. But what was even cooler was after the episode, we kind of got like the insider as well. So
and
that was cool.
we got a little drunk too. So
that's fair.
That can happen sometimes.
Should happen.
But I thought it was cool his stories about it, and plus we might be able to help the push on this. Catman wants to wrestle everybody who has trained under JD Drake. That was something he said in that episode. You can go back and listen to it on wherever you listen to podcasts. We're just starting the video thing, so that one is not on video yet. But yeah, if you trained with JD Drake and you have not yet wrestled the Catman Dalton Dallas, he is looking to get booked against you.
Well, not only that, we fell in love with Dalton Dallas, the person and the character and the person outside of wrestling. Genuinely, amazingly great guy with a huge heart who works his absolute ass off. Whether you've trained with JD Drake or not, if you are a promoter and you've stumbled upon our podcast, give this guy a shot. You will not at all be upset that you did. Him, AJ Frost is another one. I mean, just seeing him, AJ Frost live again, we got to see him in a singles match. We got to see him in the Bunkhouse Stampede, and then he actually had a third match of the night. Yeah,
and if you're a promoter out there and you need somebody to come in and teach your heels or even your faces how to work a crowd, get in touch with AJ Frost. He is an absolute master at getting the crowd to have a reaction, and that's how you know when you're over.
And if you don't believe us, search Luke Fury on YouTube, who AJ Frost has literally taken under his wing. Just watch 5 minutes of Luke Fury. You'll want to book AJ Frost and Luke Fury 10 times out of 10.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about this NAWA show. We prior to the show, we're gonna give you a timeline here, a chronology of it. So we leave Winston-Salem, North Carolina. It takes about an hour and a half to get out to Lenoir. By the time that we got there, we left after lunch. By the time we got there, it was about dinner time. We didn't know if there would be concessions available or not, and a lot of times with some of these smaller shows, the concessions can be a little iffy, and neither one of us really carry cash, and they're usually cash only. So be prepared for that if you're ever going to any of the smaller promotion shows. Bring some cash with you if you know you're going to get hungry. So we stopped at Burger King, of all places, in Lenoir, North Carolina. I rarely eat Burger King because
neither one of us are a fan.
Because here in Winston, it's one of the worst fast food restaurants. I'm going to tell you what. I have ate at Burger Kings around the world while I was in the Army. The second best one to the one in Lenoir was the one in Iraq.
Really?
Yeah.
But I will attest, that one in Lenoir, it's right there on Main Street. It was 5 minutes from the venue that NAWA had the Bunkhouse Stampede. We literally sat there and laughed our tails off because we were joking about how good it was, but both of us ate it top to bottom and were completely satisfied. So if you're ever in Lenoir, off Main Street, check out the Burger King. 5 stars.
I think that's a 7-star FTR Burger King right there.
I'd have to agree with you on that one. They gave you a whole tomato on your sandwich,
even down to the moistness of the bun.
Yeah, I mean, throw that one in there, right?
Yeah,
I had the most perfect Whopper bun I've ever seen in my life. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I mean, it was TV worthy.
It was like they put each individual sesame seed on with a pair of tweezers. I mean, and that first bite, I was just like, I had to look around. Are we really at a Burger King? Because I think that is the Burger King where the Burger King resides. I think he lives in the back.
Well, listen, when tax time comes around, we'll go back out there and I'll demand the Burger King.
Yeah.
Bring me the actual king.
Yeah, and it was funny. Even the guy in the back who was doing the cooking, he came out and told everybody up front and kind of asked their consent to go take a smoke break. Where does that happen in fast food? I'm going out for a cigarette. That's usually all it is. And then you got a line that wraps around the building.
Right.
So then after the Burger King, which was Chez Magnifique, we wound up at the American Legion Hall in Lenoir. A really, really cool old building. It's what you would expect for an American Legion Hall. Built, God, what would you say? Probably the 30s or 40s, something like that.
Easily.
But really cool building. Seemed like it had a lot of history for that area, kind of a historic district there in Lenoir. And then the hall itself was huge. They had plenty of seating. The ring was set up, right in front of the stage that they had there. Lighting was great. Got a lot of awesome photographs. That's one thing that griped my ass this past year about WrestleCade was they turned all the house lights down and I wasn't able to get really good pictures. Anybody who knows anything about photography knows that lighting is probably your most important thing there. So got just awesome pictures, videos, some entrance videos, which I haven't posted yet. I might throw them in this video. We might do that.
Well, and I'll tell you, walking in, we had the conversation. We didn't necessarily know what to expect because we knew some of the wrestlers on the card. We actually previously met and knew this promoter. We didn't necessarily connect the dots, but when we came in, we were like, oh my God, it's so-and-so. And from that point on, we walked in and if I'm not mistaken, we stopped and looked at each other and was like, wow, what a turnout for Lenoir, because we had no clue.
It's Lenoir's very close to Elkin. That's one of the other towns that I'm kind of familiar with, which are both very small kind of areas. And I think everybody in Lenoir and Elkin turned out for this wrestling show. I was
Agreed.
I was kind of flabbergasted by how many people they packed into that American Legion Hall.
Agreed. And so the show started off phenomenally. We actually had a special guest out there that we actually we know fairly well that we had no clue was going to be there, and that's Mr. George South, who led us in the national anthem and a prayer before the show, which I really, I'm not the most religious guy, but I actually really enjoyed that. That's how we started out the show.
Yeah, pro wrestling, I mean, it's, I guess we can't call it the great American pastime. That's reserved for baseball. But I think probably second to baseball, you have American professional wrestling. And, I thought it was just, it started the show off with the right vibe, with the national anthem being led with a short prayer for everybody in the locker room and all the audience members. And it was, George, hell of a stand-up guy, family man, has a strong faith, and I was glad to see see everybody out there supporting that.
Which, in another cool side note, just because we were able to be a part of WrestleCade weekend this year, is on the Sunday, day of WrestleCade, he actually does like I don't know exactly what you call it, but it's like a morning service worship.
Morning worship.
And that's really cool to me. Yeah. And it's very cool of AML and Tracy and Brian to allow George to have that avenue to preach his beliefs and to reach the wrestling community that sometimes can be the most toxic community ever.
Yeah.
So I think that's very cool. And I love that George actually promotes what he really believes in. It's just really cool, in my opinion.
It's funny, how he is that way in real life, because when he gets in the ring and he starts talking junk about all the rednecks in the crowd and the fat woman up front that he wouldn't give the time of day to and this, that, and the other, it's a completely different character from who George is in real life. And it's fun to be able to see that aspect of it.
It's fun to see both sides of it.
Right.
And I'll tell you, if George wasn't the amazing person that he is inside and outside of the ring, he 100% missed his calling being a preacher. Because that guy, when it comes to preaching the word. So after George led us in prayer, we had our first match. And that was going to be Dre White with Big Nasty and a new up-and-comer, Matthews. Unfortunately, I can't remember his first name. He definitely was great in the ring, so don't take it that way. And that's going to be versus the Murder Hornet. Excuse me.
And I don't know if he's the Murder Hornet or just a Hornet now, because I was talking to one of the refs and he said he had a mask. I think he lost that in a stipulation mask. He was the Murder Hornet, and now he might just be the Hornet. So I don't have the details of that, unfortunately.
Right. And so he teamed with Dump Truck, which if you followed us and watched our last episode, that's who we were super excited to see and meet, with Luke Fury. So it was a 6-man tag match. I was pleasantly surprised. I was. I at first, I'm not gonna lie. The first like minute, maybe minute and a half, I was like, they're trying to do a lot, and then they actually started to tell the story when it comes to a match of the inner workings of, well, Luke Fury and Dre White, they've had issues in the past, so they do a little sidebar of wrestling, or he pulls him off the apron, or this, that, and the other. It was just very cool to watch the match progress. I've already mentioned his name before, but if you haven't got a chance to see Luke Fury, hear Luke Fury, watch him on YouTube. This kid is a young up-and-comer who will be huge in this business. Mark my words. I'm saying it right now on the Swanton Pod. Before he gets big, he will be huge. What do you think?
So I agree wholeheartedly with everything you said, and I'm just sitting here thinking about Dump Truck, man. That guy, I was amped to see a guy named Dump Truck and didn't know what to expect, really. I wanted to see a big old country Popeye's popcorn chicken eating bastard, and that's what I got.
Yes, sir.
He was a great performer. Reminded me a lot of Big Van Vader.
Yes, we actually said that to him.
Yeah. He sold being knocked out better than probably Tracy Myers can sell used cars. Okay.
Fair.
This guy was on the outside of the ring for an hour and 45 minutes staring up at the ceiling of this American Legion Hall. At one point I looked over at Roadhouse. I was like, should I just go down and lay down beside him and be like, you okay, buddy?
Well, and what's funny about that is after the match, Dump Truck actually came to us because we had told AJ that he was one of the guys that we were excited about.
AJ had heard that on our promo.
The promo that we cut. And so he knew that we were excited about him and seeing him. So Dump Truck, I don't necessarily know that he knew what to say, but he came over and said, hey, what'd you guys think? And it was just very cool for him to do that. So he actually said, Knight actually said, when you were over there and you got knocked out, I was really thinking about coming and laying down next to you and asking you how you were. Dump Truck absolutely lost it. He said, man, I really wish you would have, because I don't know what I would do besides die laughing and trying to figure out how to hide that I'm laughing. So it was really cool to get to connect with him. We got a little bit of his backstory. I don't want to give too much, or really I don't want to give anything, because we do have a scheduled date coming up for Dump Truck to come on. And I can't wait for that, because we just got like a tidbit of his story, and I think there's so much more to be told.
Yeah, it was a great match. It really enjoyed sitting down and talking with him for the brief time that we did, and I'm glad that he was cool enough to come out and approach us, and be like, hey, are you the podcast guys? Well,
we were like, yeah, we are.
Yeah, that's us. We're loving this shit.
Yeah, it's super cool. It still hasn't really, we haven't understood yet that sometimes people are now starting to be like, oh, the podcast guy, Swanton Pod. So please, if you've ever heard us, you recognize us or anything, we love to talk to any and everybody in the wrestling industry or fans of the wrestling industry.
If you got a cool story, we'll probably tell it on here.
Absolutely.
Of course, we'll give you credit for it, should you ask. If not, we'll keep you anonymous.
Now, I want to talk about one more guy in this match, okay? And that's going to be Dre White. And this isn't the first or last time we're going to talk about him on this NAWA recap. But I will say, I've heard of Dre White before. Okay. I've actually seen him before. And I will tell this to his face. The first time, I think it may be 2 times that I saw him, I saw a guy who was learning the business, but I wasn't super impressed, right? He freaking blew my socks off at this NAWA event. This kid has trained and busted his tail to get where he is at, and you can tell. This guy has literally gone back, owned his craft, and it shined through in this first match. I say that confidently.
Yeah, and he wrestled a couple matches on that card.
He did.
And he swapped gimmicks.
He did.
And it was pretty impressive to see, you got some people that are locked into one lane, right? But he was working every angle that he could out there, and he did really good with everything that he did that we saw that night.
Absolutely, absolutely. I will say, first match was a great way to start the show, a great way to get the crowd hyped. It gave us enough to satisfy us, but it didn't give us the kitchen sink to where the rest of the show didn't matter. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was a great start. We'll jump into the next one. So the next match was a fatal 4-way tag team elimination match. And got to throw the 4 up, right? It was the Kindred versus Black Society versus the champions, who are the Allens, and then versus Cairo and Zay Vega. Now, I know in the promo, I talked about how much I love tag team wrestling, and I think that this one might steal the show. For me, this one was the show, minus the bunkhouse match. You don't agree?
No, that was. I'm not ranking the matches, but I'm not. It didn't. I'm not saying it stole the show for me. It was a great match.
It was a great match,
but it didn't steal the show for me. I was too busy looking at these guys. That one in particular that is Wheeler Yuta's spitting image.
100%.
You meet both of them in a dark alley. You don't know which one is which, and I was just like, I was kind of trying to figure, is it him? Is he?
Well, you know what's funny is we both agreed on Wheeler Yuta being looking like one of the Allens, but then we also got to talking Cairo and Zay Vega. I think that this kid looks exactly like, is it Ortiz?
Santana, I think.
Santana.
Yeah, Santana's the shorter one.
Looks exactly like Santana, but wearing Lucha Bros ring gear.
Yeah.
So it was a cool, it was a cool gimmick. I liked it.
Yeah. The Black Society kind of impressed me with their intensity. And Ryan Mantis, the most impressive single move on that show, when he did the moonsault off the top rope. And to set the scene, this armory had these Japanese lanterns hanging from the ceiling very close to the top rope of the ring. And like Mantis's foot maybe cleared it by that much.
Well, and he's not a short guy. He's not a short guy by any means. So, I think as he was going up to the top rope, you and me both were kind of like,
Well, even Dump Truck was sitting with us during that point, and he was like, he's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. He's like, God, it even impressed him. So.
Yes, and I'll tell you, so we actually got to meet Ryan Mantis of Black Society at PWF it was the Clover show, right?
Well, I think he was at both of them, but I do think Clover was the first one, yeah.
We got to actually interact with him. So we did get to meet him prior to this, and I'll tell you, we didn't know really what to expect. We've only had interactions as him as security detail at the PWF shows. I'll tell you, the first thing that I noticed about Ryan Mantis is his physique has changed completely since we saw him at PWF.
Yeah, he's gotten in really great shape.
Great shape. The kid easily has lost, I'd say 30, 40 pounds. Easy. You think more than that?
From what I've read on Facebook, since the start of his weight loss journey, he's lost way more than that. But probably since that show, I'd say probably 40 pounds.
Yeah, and he looks freaking phenomenal. And I think that is the reasoning why he can now pull off these impressive moves. Kid's gotten in incredible shape, gotten in great cardio shape as well. He was, in my opinion, the workhorse of the Black Society in that match. His tag team partner, Lazarus, he did get the hot tag and he, closed it out for them. But Ryan was really like the driving force in that match for me. And after that moonsault, I couldn't take my eyes off of him, man.
I could. There was a lot of other action in there, but I get what you're saying.
I meant while he was in the ring.
Yeah, I get you.
So the Allens did retain, which, by the way, we already said one of the Allens, the taller Allen, is Wheeler Yuta's absolute doppelganger. But his tag team partner, and forgive me because I just know them as the Allens, I cannot remember their individual names. His tag team partner is about, I'd say, 5'6" to 5'8", maybe 175 to 200 pounds. And I think that he was smaller and shorter than everybody else in the match, but I really was I look at him like, if he's my size, how would I fare in the ring against Zay Vega's freaking 8 foot tall? It feels like, you know what I mean? But
Adam Cole, baby.
as a smaller guy, and I don't use that in an offensive manner, but as a smaller guy, I thought that he held his own in the ring with much taller guys, not necessarily much bigger, but much taller guys, as well as moved in that cruiserweight, bruiserweight style very well. Would you agree with that?
Agreed.
Cool. Great match. Like I said, I loved it. I'm a huge fan of tag team wrestling, though. I think it's an absolute art form that it either is a great match or that was the worst tag team match I've ever seen in my life. I don't feel like there's much gray area in there. So I know that you have different feelings on that.
I don't have different feelings on them. I mean, I think it was a great match. I hate trying to rank what best from the worst is. I thought the whole show was great. So
I do too, and I'm not meaning to like, oh, this was a 3.5 star, stuff like that.
yeah, shut up, Meltzer.
Right, I agree. It was a great show, start to finish. I'm just saying, in my personal opinion, besides the Bunkhouse Stampede, this one was the one for me.
Yeah.
And then we moved into our next match, which was the NAWA title match. Wait a second, was that before or after AJ Frost?
I can't remember the order.
I think it was AJ Frost next.
Yeah, I do too.
So
yeah, because it was the AJ Frost match and then the title match because of the Bunkhouse Stampede.
Correct. So correction, before the NAWA World Heavyweight match, we did have the NAWA World Television Championship match, and that's with our boy AJ Frost, Mr. Too Cold to Hold, Freak Daddy himself, versus Johnny Ryder. What'd you think about this one?
I mean, top to bottom, I thought it was a great match. Johnny Ryder came out and he got the pop from the crowd. He's obviously working babyface in that match. Frost, as usual, come out doing heel shit. Got a big reaction from the crowd, talking junk to the old ladies and some of the people in the front row. I'm pretty sure that some people threatened him with violence as he was coming to the ring. He delayed the start of the match, as heels tend to do, just getting the crowd worked up. And, even though he retained the television championship, he really put over Johnny Ryder as a babyface.
100%. And I'll tell you what, Johnny Ryder, and no disrespect when I say this, I've never seen or heard of him before. And I actually, and I don't do this too often, I actually went back and searched YouTube and saw, I believe it was 2 other matches that I could find.
And here's a fun fact about Johnny Ryder. If you're close enough to the ring in one of these shows where he can hear you yell one more time, he will chop his opponent's chest one more time.
In fact, so funny story, because AJ Frost actually messaged us after the event and said, because I personally yelled, he was in the corner closest to myself and Mr. Knight here, and he had him set up so perfectly, and I said, give him the chop, and all of a sudden, boom, Johnny Ryder hits AJ Frost with the chop. And the first one, I mean, it was effective, but I wanted that smack. I wanted that echoing out the room. Mm-hmm. So you and me both, I think, started a one more time chant, and the second one,
he cupped his hand on it,
echoed throughout the whole place, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I'm just so glad that AJ Frost knew that it was one of us that said it.
Yeah, he put his hand through that boy's sternum that second time. Goodness,
it looked like he had ground beef on his chest.
Yeah.
after that second chop.
Yeah.
We can keep moving on, but I do have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think maybe not even the near future, but the future, we get to see babyface AJ Frost? And do you think that he's as good of a babyface as he is a heel, or can be?
I think he can be.
I do too.
I think, any time that I've been in the shower with my shampoo bottle cutting a promo against the sponge, I've always said heel stuff, and I think it's maybe easier to work as a heel. It's definitely more enjoyable. Anybody in the business I've talked to has said it's way more enjoyable to get that heel reaction from the crowd. But I do think it is more difficult to be over as a babyface. Do I think AJ has the capability and can do it? 100% absolutely. If he can get that kind of basically death threats from the crowd when he walks in as a heel,
legitimately,
then he can definitely get over as a babyface. But I do think that he's going to have somebody that is either equally as rotten as he is, or better to get him over as a face.
You know what I'd like to see, just because I know that AJ Frost has really taken this guy under his wing and helped him. I would pay top dollar in the near future.
Not the tag team top dollar either.
No. Top dollar as in top monetary amount to see babyface AJ Frost versus heel shit Luke Fury. I think that'd be a hell of a match. I think it'd be a hell of a back and forth and build up to get to that match. And I would just, I think that Luke Fury, if we can get this match to happen, I think this will make Luke Fury step it up and take him to the next level on that heel shit, because I know that he's going to be competing with AJ Frost and his mic skills and his promo skills, that he's going to realize, like, I've got to step it up, or AJ's going to talk all over me.
Yeah. Well, one thing too about that match that I noticed was the pace was slower purposefully than the rest of the matches that we saw. And that just is basically, two guys that know their craft getting in there and knowing that they don't need to hit every move that they know in one match just to tell a story. And I kind of applauded that piece of it, because it had high spots. It was faster in some parts, and then they really slowed it down to get the crowd back into it, and then hit them with another high spot. I mean, it was impressive work throughout that whole match.
As a spectator, it was such a ball of emotions too, because every time that, babyface Johnny Ryder would get going, AJ Frost does some cool heel shit, and we're heel people. So everybody in the crowd's like, oh, you suck. AJ sucks. And where they're like, go AJ, yeah, heel shit.
You were doing that. I was snapping pictures.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
To the point where we got ugly looks.
Yeah. Especially about that one old biddy in the crowd, whatever her name is.
Oh, she hated us.
I'm sure she was nice, but you know what? As far as kayfabe goes, I'm going to play the heel. She was an old biddy. She was mean. She was nasty. She had old snuff dripping down the corners of her mouth, old long titty, no nipple having ass. I tell you.
So let's jump into the next match. So the next match is going to be for the NAWA World Title, and not only was it a title match, but it was also a Texas Bull Rope match, and that's going to be Big Donnie versus Chris Thunder Anderson. And I'd like to give you the reins on this one. On really a recap and what you thought.
Need more cowbell.
More cowbell.
It's crazy.
Never enough cowbell.
Well, yeah. Big Donnie's a big old boy.
Big old boy.
That's a big old boy. I thought Dump Truck was a big old boy. Big Donnie came out. God, that's a big boy. The match was good. We saw a little bit of color.
Which was cool. I was excited about.
Yeah, that was cool. I really liked Anderson.
Yes.
I thought he had the look of an old school, just mean heel wrestler. Looked like an old Texan, had the cowboy boots, the jeans, and the cutoff shirt for his ring gear.
He kind of gave me Carl Anderson vibes too, which is funny, but his last name was Anderson.
Yeah, a little bit. I thought it was a great match. I don't know what the draw exactly is with Big Donnie. He is so big that he doesn't move great around the ring. He's impressive to watch. He spent about 70% of the match on the floor getting the hell beat out of him. The finish was a little muddy because they didn't touch all four corners, and then Donnie splashed on Anderson, and they both touched at the same time. Split decision. They couldn't call the match to the favor of either.
So Donnie retained.
Either person. So Donnie retained the belt. And I think that he's so over just because he is the local boy out there, which that's great.
That's cool as shit to me.
Work that gimmick, make your money, man. It's just it's not something that I was really that impressed by. I mean, I'm not trying to talk junk because I enjoyed the whole thing, but it didn't get a pop out of me.
Well, I will tell you, it definitely didn't rank up there on memorable best match of the night for this exact show, but I will tell you
It was memorable.
it was memorable.
I will say it was memorable.
But I will tell you that I was impressed, like, with how big Donnie is, that he was able to move as well as he was, given the fact
With how big Donnie is.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think that Chris Anderson definitely, he was the superstar of this match, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think he carried that match.
I agree, and I definitely.
And he even took a back suplex to the floor at one point, and they had
Nothing.
no wrestling match. Or
It was
anything
tile.
around there. Tile over concrete,
Right.
and that I felt that one.
Right. Yeah. It was a nice big hard one. It wasn't my cup of tea. I had some impressive spots. It's not me knocking on it. It's okay. We're wrestling fans. We're all allowed to have an opinion.
That whole crowd was behind Big Donnie, and he
100%.
they got their money's worth out of that match, and he got paid for the night. So I applaud that match.
Yeah,
like I said,
absolutely.
we're not ranking it by any type of star system, but he was over. The crowd was over. You know,
And we're not shitting on it either. Just so it's very clear, it wasn't our cup of tea. It was everybody else out there's cup of tea, and he was great.
you know what they say: opinions are like old buttholes, and everybody's
Everybody's
got
got
them,
one.
and they all stink, don't they? Now.
Absolutely. And like I said earlier, we're not shitting on it. I would watch it again.
Oh yeah, I would like to have seen more of it, because so much of it, and I think that's another thing that put me off, is so much of it took place down on the floor while they were on one another. That was a front row match. If you were in the front row,
It was a great match.
You got the best match you could possibly see.
Absolutely. And, you know, we purposefully stood back so we could see everything. So I'm going to have to agree with you. I think that we would have enjoyed it more. I mean, they were on the outside of the ring for a solid 7-8 minutes. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it
Those
was a long
7-8
time.
minutes, I'm not the tallest guy. He's not the tallest guy. We couldn't see much of the action. It was every time we saw somebody's head pop up, we were like, oh, there they are again. So I bet as a front row spectator, it was a lot more enjoyable, a lot more excitable from a back of the house type person, so we could see everything. It did put it off a little bit for me.
Yeah, there you go.
So, all right, let's move right along. The next one was the match of the night. No doubt about it. I mean, it was. I didn't know what to expect, because it was the Bunkhouse Stampede.
What was the prize for that match?
So the prize was this beautiful big cowboy boot that was, I mean, it was huge. And what was cool, after the fact, we saw that the same exact one that was there, that was held by the winner, which I don't want to give it away quite yet, because I want to go over some of the weapons and stuff. There's a picture of him kissing this boot on Facebook. Somebody else posted, and I believe it was one of the promoters.
Right, but I can't wait to do it though. It was held, baby, by the son of a plumber.
Yes, and
Mr.
there's
Dusty.
a picture of him kissing it, and the winner of this match kissing it. That put the icing on the cake for me for the whole show. It was so cool to see who has done it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the Bunkhouse Stampede. It was a cool. I didn't know what to expect, because it was a little gimmicky.
So basically, it's a Royal Rumble style match with weapons. It's a no holds barred, encouraged to bring your own weapon, Royal Rumble style match. 30 men over the top rope, both feet hit the floor, and you're out of the match.
And we saw some cool weapons. We saw some very innovative weapons. We saw everything from a can of green beans to crutches, Febreze, skateboard. So many cookie pan sheets that I think that the local Lenoir Walmart probably won't have them in stock for at least a month.
Yeah, and then the little pony thing.
Oh my gosh.
Hobby horse.
Hobby horse. Yes, and that was hilarious. Oh, and we forgot about the
I didn't forget about it.
The Nerf gun.
The Nerf gun, and then I want to know, nobody tell on AJ Frost, because he stole a stop sign from somewhere between Boiling Springs and Lenoir, North Carolina.
So if you're missing a stop sign, it was too cold to hold, baby.
Don't ask no questions. Snitches get stitches.
Yeah, we will find you. Disclaimer.
Yeah, I've got Google.
Right. So, honestly, and I know it's so, it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but I'll tell you, Cairo, the guy we talked about in the tag team match, is the one that brought the Febreze. I loved it.
I thought it was dumb.
I know you
the
hated
can
it.
was I don't know. The can was obviously empty. It was for kayfabe purposes, of course. He was, acting like he was spraying people. It was just dumb to me.
I loved it. It was something new that I've never seen before. I think that's why I loved it.
Yeah, the can of green beans I thought was pretty cool. Get hit by a can of green beans. How'd you lose the match, Mom? I got hit with a can of green beans. But and then I think they had way too many people in the ring at one time. I think that they needed to start dumping people way sooner than they did, because you've got, a ring of a certain size and you start getting 15 plus people in this ring, and you can't keep track of what's going on, really.
But I will tell you, once those first couple of people got out and got thrown over.
Oh, they started.
It was like that initial. So I'd say like the first 10 minutes of the match just felt kind of cluttered. But after that, I enjoyed, and we had that comment to each other. We're like, "Whoa, it's getting pretty crowded in there.
Yeah.
I think we should start seeing some eliminations." Then that first one happened, and it was like boom, 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 and then that's when the match really started for me.
It was about, what was it, when Big Nasty came in and he started really, because Big Nasty is a big dude,
Big old boy,
wears a luchador mask and overalls, no shirt, and he's a big old boy, and he started tossing bodies. What I'm telling you.
Yeah, and I'll say one of the other things that we didn't mention as a weapon was the poison mist.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool to use as a weapon, and that was done by Max Carnage. So he wasn't on anywhere on the rest of the card. So when I went back and I looked at the pictures, I sent a couple feelers out like, who is this cat? I enjoyed watching him, not only because of the poison mist, but I actually got to watch some of his wrestling, and he flows very well. He's very fluent in the ring. So I went and I searched for him, added him as a friend to our Facebook page, as well as myself. Got to see some of his other matches that he's done, and I'll tell you what, I don't know how this kid Max Carnage isn't booked more locally, because I was very impressed not only by his showing on Saturday, but by a couple of his other showings that I've seen in the some of the past videos that he's done.
So to me, Max Carnage, his vibe and kind of the way he moves in the ring reminds me of, you remember Angelico?
Dude, absolutely.
Totally different vibe. He's much darker, but kind of the way he's built, the way he moves, it totally,
almost like his ring awareness,
kind of his style.
Yeah,
is not a carbon copy by any means,
no.
but it's just a callback to Angelico, and
which I think is a huge compliment, because I think Angelico is very much so underutilized in AEW. I think that he sells great. I think that, with a little bit of mic work, that he could be a great mid card.
Well, he's a great talent. I haven't ever heard him on the mic, I don't think, which, that's one thing that people want to dog, talent for is, he's not great on the mic, but he can move. Like, if you can tell a story in the ring without ever having to touch a mic, good on you,
Look at Bobby Lashley. I can't stand when that guy talks, but he has delivered great matches in every promotion he's gone to.
Did you know he pitched a storyline to Vince where he wanted to put on like 70 pounds, just in a depression, put on a bunch of weight so he could have like cheat days and then take the weight off of him? And Vince was like, "No, I don't think you can do that."
Yeah, no, I don't know that I would have been into that, because in my opinion, Bobby Lashley's draw is his physique and how he can move.
Give me fat Bobby Lashley all day.
Yeah,
I think he could still move, and possibly, like, power lifters, the more that they weigh, the more that they lift. So, I mean, that might give him, he might be
next level
pumping Braun Strowman if he puts on 70, 80 pounds. And then, the storyline where he gets lean and cuts it off, I think that'd be great. Horrible aside, though. Let's get back to NAWA, what we're really here to talk about.
So, We gave that shout out to Max Carnage. I think that was a great comparison with him and Angelico. Were there any other people, maybe necessarily that we haven't spoke about yet, that really stuck out to you?
Zay Vega.
Yep.
Just that's I give him a year. I think he's going to be very polished. He's going to be a great talent. He already impresses. Big Nasty's just always great to watch in the ring. Not the most technical, but he is a spectacle to watch, and it's enjoyable every time. I want to revisit Big Donnie because he is a spectacle, and it was great to watch. It's just not my exact cup of tea. There's so many people in that match. My head was spinning. I'm trying to watch all of it. I'd have to go back through the pictures and be like, "Oh, I remember that. That was a good spot." Cause if I took a picture of it, if it's on our album on the page, more than likely I liked it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you, and I know we've already spoke about him. Luke Fury in the actual bunkhouse match after pulling double duty before that, because I don't think we spoke about it. So he was in the first match, and then he also helped AJ Frost retain in AJ Frost in NAWA TV title match. So then he was now not just double duty, he pulled triple duty being in the bunkhouse, and he was in there 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and that's just that workload paired with his in-ring ability, his ability to garner as much heat and as great of heat that he did. This kid's a freaking star, dude. I'm telling you.
Yeah, he's gonna be good. I hope he stays healthy.
Yes.
Hope he doesn't pick up any type of injuries. And I know with his style ring work, buddy, wear your pads, wear your braces, take care of your ACLs, your MCLs, warm up before the match. Do your due diligence to take care of your body, kid, because you're
something special.
Yeah, you're gonna go places.
Well, and if for some reason, this isn't wood, but knock on wood, you do get hurt, don't be a hard head and follow what the doctor says and do the PT, because you have a future ahead of you, buddy.
Yeah.
And so we'll get to the finish of that match. So the finish was Dre White wins.
Yeah.
And the winner, the stipulation was the winner not only gets that big, beautiful boot, but also gets...
It's got a contract in it.
It's got a contract. Any match.
By God, he's cashing in the money in the bank.
Any match, any title, any time. And we were able to witness that any match, any time, any championship, because he immediately called out Mr. AJ Frost. What'd you think?
I'm glad that they did it on the show. Like, I was expecting it might be a build up to another show.
Right.
I think that that storyline was played very smart. We saw the build of that storyline, just us in one night. I'm not sure what became prior, because it was our first NAWA event. But during the night, that storyline really played out and
progressed
and set up the next match, where, of course, AJ's wanting that title back. He's got to get his stipulation of he has a rematch.
Well, let's talk on that first, because Bunkhouse was over. He went over to the announcers table, called AJ out, and was like, "Hey, this is the time and the place." And all night, it was Armory, correct?
No, it was the American Legion.
American Legion, thank you. So we were in the American Legion Hall, and they had these Japanese lanterns hanging from the ceiling, and all night we were like, is this going to be the match that one gets torn
I
down?
wish I'd have bet you that $5 on the one that I picked, because that's the one that went down.
It's the one that went down. So at the end of the match, where the finish was coming, Dre White gets on the top rope and kind of loses a little bit of balance, does a little...
He catches himself.
Catches himself.
But he also
grabbed the lantern and ripped it down. But what was cool about it is, A, it made it very real, and B, it was just like the whole crowd was like, oh, oh, oh. Yeah. And then he hits this beautiful, I believe it was a splash off the top rope after pulling a Japanese lantern down. It was the culmination of a great freaking night of wrestling.
Yeah. And then, of course, at the end of the match, where he got to hold the big boot, he raised his belt, and AJ Frost is just pissed off. Looks like he's going to have a temper tantrum in the ring, kicking and wailing, and the crowd was behind the whole thing. And
I ate it up.
yeah, and then we stayed behind and got to talk to some of the talent after the show. Watched them take the ring down, which that's one thing.
So cool.
That's one thing I've always known the construction, I guess, of the ring, but I've never got to see one put up and taken down. And I couldn't believe how fast they got that thing disassembled and on the truck. They must have wanted to be back home before midnight.
I swear to you, it was no more than 20 minutes, if that.
20 to 30, I would say, yeah.
Yeah, to take a whole ring down. And
that's with them coming over, talking to us, and we were interrupting, just standing around and,
well, not only did they get the ring broken down, they had all the chairs put up within that 20 to 30 minutes. It was just, I will give absolute kudos not only to every wrestler that was on the card, but every fan that was there, every, all the promoters, any and everybody that was there made our first NAWA experience the most enjoyable experience that they could have, to the point where we are already speaking about when's the next show, can we make it, we have to make it.
Yeah, it was it was as much, if not more, enjoyable than some of the PWF shows that we've seen, with some big names there like the Hardys and 7-Star FTR. Not taking away from their matches, but just the intimacy and just the whole vibe of their show was a class act.
Well, and I think that's what made it that class act, because going in, we knew AJ Frost, we had heard of Luke Fury, and we knew Big Nasty. We'd seen Big Nasty, we knew George, but George didn't wrestle. Those are the three we knew. Mm-hmm. By the end of that night, I felt like I knew every wrestler on that card, as well as in the bunkhouse, as well as I felt like I was connected with them. I needed more. I needed to see how the storylines, the mini storylines that were in the bunkhouse, plus the storylines of the matches that we actually got to see. I'm hooked. I need to see more. I need to know how this storyline plays out.
But one thing, now that we're wrapping up about NAWA, do you have anything else you want to say on that? I think we've pretty much summed it up. Just go watch these guys.
I personally just want to say, thank you, NAWA. Thank you, AJ Frost. Thank you to any and everybody that made that night special for the Swanton Pod, but also gave us that love of wanting and needing more.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. I think that's one reason why the wrestling community online is so toxic, is because a lot of people only will watch WWE and AEW, or one or the other. Possibly some ROH, possibly some Impact, but I think not a lot of people, or not enough people, get out to local shows and support their promotions, because when you do, it kind of refreshes your reason. You know why you ended up falling in love with this stuff anyway. Your first Raw you watched, your first Nitro you watched, and you didn't know dick about storylines. It's just, we're there because this is cool. It's wrestling.
Well, in my opinion is, if you have never gone to a local / independent show and you go to one and you don't absolutely fall in love with it, I just really have a hard time believing that you're an actual wrestling fan. I really do believe that. And if you would have asked me this a year ago, I would have told you to buzz off because, that's lower level, this, that, and the other. But I'm going to be honest, I look forward more now. I look forward more to, we get to go in person to such and such show or such and such promotion, opposed to, oh great, it's Wednesday. Oh great, it's Monday. Mm-hmm. Because the word that you use that really describes it perfectly is the intimacy, the connection that you can make, and I think that you'll agree with me as well. That's our goal with the Swanton Pod. Yes, we do want to interview, the big names. We do want to do that because that's cool.
And I want to tell the story of Scott Steiner's left bicep.
Yeah, it's the cool thing to do in wrestling podcasts. But my goal personally, and I know that I feel very confident.
We had a long talk on the drive back about, kind of the direction after seeing this show is we really want to highlight the independent promotions.
And not just local, not just North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia. If you are in wherever, now granted, if you want us there, you got to get us there.
And we got to have a lot of notice.
We got
a bunch of damn kids.
And some ornery wives. So
Yeah.
You got to get us there.
Yeah, my wife plays heel pretty much 7 days a week.
They would be the best heel tag team ever.
They would.
But if you want us there, get us there. We would love to do a pre-promotion. We would love to do a vlog on the way there. We've talked about that.
If you got internet, we can do a live broadcast.
We can do a live broadcast, and we will definitely do a recap show. But our goal with the Swanton Pod is not only to talk about, the major wrestling productions, things that are happening there, but I really want some of this local independent stuff to really get highlighted, really get pushed, because I've said his name a million times. Luke Fury is going to be somebody someday. I have a scheduled date for him, which, I didn't want to tell people that, and I wanted to be a surprise, but I want you guys to know about him so you can go and search him, and search some of his matches and some of his greatness. And I want you to know that because this kid's going to be huge one day, and you will have seen him and heard him on the Swanton Pod first.
Yeah. Now's the time of the show where we're going to go into business for ourselves a little bit. So you've seen Hollywood Hulk Hogan hanging out here on the table, Funko Pop in a hard shell case here.
Be careful.
Pull this guy out here. So pretty much perfect condition. These things go online for anywhere from $290 to $600, depending on who wants it, what the demand is. Right now on Funko.com, I believe it's about $290. We're not giving it away yet. We want to know, is there any interest out there for anybody where it's going to be worth our time to raffle this guy off? It's not signed. It's just one of the more collectible wrestling Funko Pops.
In my opinion, it's also a really cool Funko Pop.
Yeah, it's a really cool Funko Pop.
Kind of hard to find too, right?
Kind of hard to find. I know what I paid for it. I just want to know if I can get my investment plus some out of it. We're looking to get some better camera equipment here for the studio, as well as upgrade some of the camera equipment that we travel with for some of these independent shows. And it's just so we can get better content out to you guys, as fans. So if anybody is interested, we have a poll on Facebook saying, yes, I'm interested in doing a raffle. No, don't waste your time. On YouTube, if you'll drop a comment saying, yes, I'm interested, give our video a like and a share. Then we'll decide probably in the next few months whether we're going to be raffling this guy off to hopefully a lucky fan out there. I'm thinking, $10 per entry would probably be fair.
I think that's a very fair number.
Considering, you're getting a $300 to $600 pop for $10. So,
it's definitely for me. It would definitely be worth the risk for $10.
Yeah. So, nice hard shell case. You get everything here pictured. It has been in this case since I got it. I think this is the first time I've taken it out of there, actually. But yeah, you'll get everything mailed to you, insured for the value of it. Should we decide that we're gonna do a raffle on this? But just give us some comments to see, is the juice worth the squeeze on giving this guy away to upgrade some of the stuff in our studio.
Well, and I know that we are heading into the end of this episode. I just want to personally, from the bottom of Roadhouse's heart, everybody that has been with us, whether you're brand new to this episode or you've been with us since episode 1, from the bottom of our heart, this week has been a crazy week in a great way. We're actually booked all the way out to the last week of March with guests, so be on the lookout with that. But I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, and I can speak for Matt on this, we really appreciate you guys. Please like, share, subscribe, get our name out there. You're not going to want to miss some of the upcoming episodes.
Yeah, and if you're at a show, feel free to come up and say, "Are you the podcast guys?"
Please come up and say,
"We are."
Don't be scared. Please, we love talking wrestling.
Yeah, he's an attention whore, so
always.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening, and we will catch you on the next one. Remember, pro wrestling is for everybody.
Roadhouse out.
Are you ready?